there and welcome back. It's Lisa from Critters'n Ink Designs in Ontario, Canada. And today I'm just going to show you a couple of cards that I made with the Cup of Tea Boutique bundle. I've just been a little bit obsessed with this stamp set for some reason over the last few days. And over the weekend I was just doing some tidying up and I came across the Tea Boutique Designer Series paper. And I thought, oh, I haven't played with this that much. You can see I've played with it a lot the last couple days, but I haven't really done that much with it. So I started going through the catalog and was really inspired. These two cards actually are in the catalog. So if you're ever looking for inspiration, the catalog is a great source of inspiration. For me anyway, I find whenever I'm kind of at a standstill, I'll look in the catalog to see what Stampin' Up's designers have done with whichever product I'm looking at. And I'm always thrilled because they come up with beautiful ideas. And then if I just make a couple of their cards, then I come up with tons of ideas of my own. So this one is on a petal pink background and it's a slimline, and I just used a piece of basic white thick because I did some watercolor on it. So I used the thick. You could use the shimmer as well, or watercolor paper. And I just took some of the Tahitian Tide and a water marker, like these water painters, and created like a water wash with the Tahitian Tide. And then I used this leafy element here, and I just stamped it off and then just randomly stamped it on the card. And then I just used the teacup dies to cut out some of the florals in the regular teacups, and then I use the combination of these two dies to create these cups with the floral interest on the front. And then you have a little tea bag. Isn't that cute? A little tea bag. And your sentiment that I did on Sweet Sorbet with white heat embossing on it. So that's right out of the catalog. And then this card is also right out of the catalog. With this one, you have the option to use the designer series paper, but I had some of the Tea Boutique note cards still. And so what I did was I took the front of the note card, and we're going to be making this card later, so I'll show you exactly what I did, but I just used this note card, and it comes with the matching envelopes, which are so pretty. Like, what a combination. And it came in all of the new in colors. So we have Parakeet Party, Sweet Sorbet, Starry Sky, and Tahitian Tide. Oh, and Fresh Freesia. Isn't that pretty? So pretty. So we're going to make a card with one of these later. And we're also going to make this card, which is so cute. I saw this on Pinterest, and I just thought, this is adorable. So you make like a little envelope holder for your card and then pop that in there. So we're going to go ahead and make this one too. So here's what I did with some of a different designer series, same designer series paper, but a different pattern with a little tea bag there. Adorable, right? All right, why don't we get started? I'm going to put some of this stuff away, out of the way till we need it. Now we're going to go ahead and do this one first, and I'm just going to clear off some of my desk, and I need my trimmer. I'll grab my trimmer here. And first thing I'm going to need is my card base, which is 8.5 by 11. But I'm going to need a piece of the Tahitian Tide that is 4 by 5 1/4, and a piece of basic white, which is 3 3/4 by 5, and then a scrap of the Tahitian Tide for my cup, and 2 pieces of the designer series paper that are 4 by 5 1/4. Let's first create our card base. So I have my 8.5 by 11, and I'm going to score it at 5.5. And you can see I'm using the light colored blade on my trimmer. That's my scoring tool. Then I'm going to rotate this and I'm going to cut it in half at 4 1/4. And for that, I'm going to be using the darker blade, which is my cutting blade. There. So I have 2 pieces that are 4 1/4 by 11. First thing I'm going to do is cut off corners of each of my 2 pieces. So I'm going to, for the first one, I'm going to put my top left corner right into the groove. And I'm going to line up my score line also in the groove where the blades go. So I've got that lined up. And I'm just going to cut that corner off. And I'm going to keep this. If I didn't have this scrap, I would use this to cut out my cup. But I'm always looking for little pieces of scrap, so that's okay. So now with my second piece, I'm going to take my bottom left and put that in the groove where the blade goes. And I'm going to line up my score line at the top. So I'm basically just doing the opposite of what I did earlier. So I've got my corner in there and I've got my score line there. And I'm just going to cut that off. So we'll put these pieces aside until later. And then while I've got this out, I'm going to go ahead and cut my designer series paper. So I have 2 pieces that are 4 by 5 1/4. And they're directional. So you want to make sure when you're cutting this that you're going to have the right directions. So for the front, I'm going to be using the little envelopes. But for the back, I want to use, for this side, I want to use the dots. So this is my right side and this is my right side. So I'm going to put them wrong sides together and I'm going to cut them diagonally. Okay, but you want to make sure that you have your direction is going in the right direction. This one, it doesn't matter, it's non-directional, but this definitely is directional. So you want to make sure that when you cut it, that anything that's directional needs to be going in the right direction. So I'm lining up my opposite corners into the groove and I'm going to go ahead and cut that in half. So I'm going to put these aside. We'll use them for something else at some point. And these are the 2 pieces that are going to go on the front of our card. So I'm going to put those aside for now and get the trimmer out of here. So let's go ahead and put our card base together. So I have my 1 piece going this way and I have my second piece going in the opposite direction. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this and I'm going to burnish my score lines. But if you look at this, you can see that it's not lined up perfectly. So I want to make sure that my edges are perfect. And I'm going to line them up perfectly at this side and take my bone folder and then just burnish that so that it's going to lay flat. And I'm going to do the same on this side. And I want to make sure that my edges match. I'll go ahead and burnish that down. And then this is going to just sit in like this. And then these will cross over like this. So let's glue these together. And I'm going to use liquid glue so that I can move the paper around if I need to. And I don't need to be particularly heavy-handed, but I do want to make sure I get in the corners. Okay, so I'm just going to slide that onto here. And you want to make sure that your bottom edges match. Because this is where we're going to create our little envelope. Okay, so that's well stuck. Next, I'm going to take some 1/8 inch tear and tape that is left over from my last month's paper pumpkin. And I'm hoping that with having that in the paper pumpkin, that maybe that means it's going to be in the new catalog. Cross your fingers, because sometimes you'd like tear and tape, but you just don't need the whole 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to burnish that down really well. And then just peel off that paper and press down my corner. And then next, I'm going to put tear tape along the bottom here and maybe about a third the way up on this side here. And I have it right on the bottom. You can use liquid glue for this. I'm not the neatest when it comes to liquid glue, so if I can use tear and tape, that's quite often my choice. I love liquid glue, but when I'm using it like right on the edge of something, I don't always have great results. But if you have a fine tip applicator like one of these, you can buy these on Amazon, or I've even seen them in the dollar store or craft store. You'll be able to get a finer glue dot or bead, I guess they call it, and not have too much oozing out the bottom. But as always, if you're going to be using liquid glue, you want to make sure that you have your silicone mat underneath so that if it does ooze out, it's not going to get all over your work area. It's just going to get on the silicone mat and then it just washes right off. All right, so I'm going to fold this over. And again, I want to make sure that my bottom edges are perfectly even. So there's our little envelope. Oh shoot, you know what I forgot to do? Boy, I forgot to put my paper on here. Holy Dinah. Okay, so this is going to go on here. And for this, I am going to use my liquid glue. Boy, that was close. And you want to make sure you get right in the corner there. And again, you don't have to be heavy-handed at all. So I'm going to pop that in there. I can't believe I forgot to do that. Holy smokes. Okay. Trying to think of too many things at once, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that back down. And then I'm going to put my envelope one on the bottom, or on the triangle there. And I'm just leaving about 1/8 of an inch border all the way around here. There. All right, so there's the front of our card. Next thing we're going to do is the panel for the inside. So on this one, I have stamped a little cup and it says, "Let's get together." So let's go ahead and do that. Some blocks. So I have my little teacup. This reminds me of that song when you're a little kid. I'm a little teapot. I'm not going to sing it for you. Oh, I forgot my Tranquil Tide. Hang on. Or Tahitian Tide. Tranquil Tide. Where did I get that? Tranquil Tide. I don't remember. Tranquil Tide. That must have been an older color. All right. So you want to do your stamping before you cut anything or color anything. Because if you screw it up, you can always flip your paper over, right? So I'm just going to pop that in the lower corner like that. And what does this say? Take care of yourself. Oh, let's get together soon. That's the one I wanted. So we'll go ahead and stamp that right in the middle. Oh, I think I put that too high. Let's check. And my little cup on top of there. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to flip it over and redo it because I think that "Let's Get Together Soon" might have been a little bit too high. I'm just going to put it down a little bit lower this time. down here. Perfect. And then on a scrap of basic white, okay, I'll just clean these since I have a stamp on both sides. I can't really put it down anywhere because it'll leave ink. All right. Alrighty. So I'm going to grab my mini cutter and I'm just going to cut out my little teacup or my little tea bag. And actually I want to cut out 2 of them. So that I can glue them together and make like a real tea bag. All right, so let's grab our mini cutter here. I should have grabbed my little blue mini cutter, my little boho blue. So during Celebration, which is now until the end of February, you can join Stampin' Up! And have the option to purchase a mini cut and emboss machine as part of your starter kit. And you can choose between a white one and the boho blue, which is a limited edition. And plus $225 worth of product for $175. So that's this plus $225 worth of product of your choice. So if you already have, you know, Stampin' Up! Product, you do get to choose what you want. It's not a standard startup kit. And then if you don't want to add this to your purchase, you can still buy $225 worth of product for $135. So that's $90 in discounts if you sign up during the month of February, during Celebration. So if you're interested in something like that and you're Canadian, I would love to talk to you about joining our team. We have a fun team. It's not a big team, but we're fun. And yeah, we'd love to have you join us. All right, so I'm going to cut the second little tea bag thing. Okay, just set this aside. We're going to need this again in a minute. So here's our little tea bag. And I'm just going to take a little piece of the basic white baker's twine. And this is part of the essential baker's twine package that you can get in the annual catalog. It has black and white and crumb cake, I think, basic gray, and something else. There's 5 of them. I can't remember what the other one is. So black, white, crumb cake, basic gray, and something else. There in the catalog. There, so I've just tied a little knot in the end of my string here, and I'm going to put a piece of tear and tape, oh here it is, right in my face. And I'm just going to put a couple of pieces of tear and tape here to hold down the string. There we go. And then I'll just pop this onto here to hold it in place, and then I'll put a little bit of liquid glue all around as well to hold it into place. And there we go. I'll just hold that for a second. Okay, oh, that's so cute. Now for this part of our card, to create these edges, I'm going to use the Very Best Trio Punch. And there's a little technique to this. This is a great punch. It's got this decorative corner, and it punches out like a little ribbon hole. And then what this does is, if you put your paper in there, in like this, it'll chop your corner off to give you like an offset corner. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to put my top right corner into the punch, And then to get the same look on the other side, I'm going to flip my paper over and pop it in this way. Now remember, this is our bad side because this is too high. So I'm going to flip it back over like this. And I'm going to do the same thing on our piece of Tahitian Tide. I'm going to flip it over and punch that. Okay, so easy. Now at this point, before you glue this, this is where you want to make sure that if you did use 1/4 inch tear and tape or liquid glue, that this is actually going to fit nicely inside and go all the way to the bottom like this. Now this is okay because I've used the 1/8 inch tear and tape, but if you don't have that, you may need to just use your trimmer and take off about a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch off the bottom. And you can do that just by scooching this up a little bit closer to the top and then just trim a little bit off the bottom. But you do want to make sure that it fits right inside of this envelope. Otherwise, it's not going to fit in the mailing envelope, the standard medium-sized mailing envelope. So I just have a little bump there, so I'm just going to scooch that down. And let's go ahead and glue this. All right. So if you're in Ontario today, it is so cold. And the wind, oof. We have a weather station in our yard. My husband he flies model airplanes, so he's a little bit obsessed with the weather. And our weather station says that the winds were 50 kilometers this afternoon, which is pretty fast. And you can hear it whistling through the doorways, even though our doors are closed. There, so that's going to slide right in there like that. And don't worry about this because we're going to put a cup on it to cover that part up. So I'm going to put my little tea bag on a dimensional. And we're going to pop that just up here in the little corner. So let's put some dimensionals. I have 2 little mini dimensionals here. I'm just going to pop this here. And what I'm doing is this little corner where it's cut off, I'm going to line up with the top of this little card because if it goes over, again, it's not going to fit in your envelope. So I'm just lining up the 2 flat edges, okay? So that's in there. And then next, we're going to do our little cup. I almost said cupcake. We're going to do our little cups. And you know what I forgot to do? Is put this little piece in here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Totally forgot about it. And I'm just going to take a strip of designer series paper that is 5 1/4 by about 2 1/2. So about 2 1/2. By 5 1/4. Now ideally I should have put this in here while this was still open. And just slide it in like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit of glue on here. And just carefully slide that in so that I don't get a ton of glue at the top. There, perfect. Ugh, can't believe I did that. Okay, so that's going to go in there. Okay, so now we're going to create our little cup. And to do that, I'm going to need a piece of our scrap Tahitian Tide, which we had cut off at the beginning, remember? And then I have another piece of the polka dot that we're going to cut out as well. So in order to make this easier to deal with, this one in particular, I'm going to put some adhesive sheets on the back of this. So let me just grab a piece of our adhesive sheet. Now, if you haven't used these before, these are the most amazing things. And it's a double-sided adhesive sheet. You get, I forget how many are in here, 12 sheets of 12 by 6. And the way to use it is I'm going to lift up part of my corner here, and I'm just going to place that right against raw edge to raw edge. And then I'm going to lift up the next one and slide that over there, and then press this down. And then I'm going to cut away what I don't need. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut this away. And then I'll cut from here. And even, you know, if you have little pieces left over, don't throw them away. You'd be amazed at how small of a piece will come in handy if you're trying to, like, even to put these little tea baggy things together. You know, you can just use a little tiny piece of the adhesive sheets. So let's get rid of that. And this is the carrier sheet from the other side. This is garbage. So let me grab my little trimmer, my little cutter. You can see the sun shining. So I'm actually re-taping part of this because I don't know what happened. I don't know what's with me and electronics lately, but not a good thing. Yesterday my video stopped recording right here, so we're picking it up where we left off, and I can't do anything until at least 1:30 in the afternoon because the sun shines right in this room and it's just unbearably bright. Okay, so I'm going to lay this like this. And this is the decorative one that's going on the one with the adhesive sheets, and you'll see why in a minute. So I'm going to put that one there, and then I'm going to take just the plain cup and I'm going to cut that out of the polka dot. Okay, so I'm going to put this like this. And we'll just go ahead and run that through. Okay, I'm just going to grab my silicone mat here and we'll pop this out of the die. Sometimes when you pull the adhesive part off, all of the little bits will go with it. So let's just give that a try. Well, here's a big piece right here, so let's see what we get. Yeah, so you can see a lot of the little pieces are coming with it. And we don't want that. There we are. So we're just going to sit this here. And I'm going to take my little teacup and we're going to just place this right on here. So let's see. And there we go. Beautiful. Okay. So we'll get rid of that. So now we can go ahead and put this on our card. And I just need some dimensionals. And I'm just going to put a couple of dimensionals like right near the bottom. Oops. So I've got 3. I've got 1 right at the base and then just 2 across there. And we'll just pop that right on there. Isn't that adorable? So for the next card, we're actually going to use some of the cards in the Tea Boutique. So the Tea Boutique, I don't have much left in it, but the decorative envelopes. Oh, so we can actually grab one of these envelopes to go with this card. Isn't that adorable? Okay, so we'll put that there. Let's do one in the Orchid Oasis. So I'm going to need an Orchid Oasis card base. So this is the card actually that we're making. So this one here. So let's grab an Orchid Oasis card base. Okay, so I've got an Orchid Oasis card base and I have a scrap of Orchid Oasis that we're going to use for the cup. Get some of this out of the way. The first thing we need to do is cut down our card front. So let me grab my trimmer. Okay, so I'm going to trim my card front to 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And I always keep these little trim offs for the insides of cards. So let me just move that, and I'm going to trim away this. And I'm just lining up the score line here with the blade groove so that I can use this. And I always save these. And then for my card front, where's my card? For my card front, I need this piece to be 4 by 5 1/4, which it is. And this is going to layer on top of here. You see that better? But first, I'm going to cut my cup out of here, and I'm going to cut this panel out of my white mat. So let's move the trimmer. And I'm going to need my larger Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, because the dies for the deckled rectangles won't fit in the mini. So for this one, I'm using, I forget. Let's just line them up. I think it's the fourth smallest one. I have these all laid out. I need to put a magnet in there. I think it's the 4th smallest one. Let me just have a look. Not that one. I think it's this one. Yeah. So the 4th smallest. So there's the largest, the 2nd largest, 3rd largest, 4th largest. All right, so we'll pop these back in the pocket here. And my plates here. So when you're doing die cutting, you need your plate number 1 and a plate number 2, which is your die shim, and then 2 number 3s. So I've got my first one here, and I'm going to line up my 4 by 5 1/4 there, and I'm just going to cut this out of the middle. Then I'm going to lay this here, and I'm going to cut out my solid cup out of this one. And it doesn't matter where, because this is going to be covered, but you want it pretty well centered, because this smaller piece has to cover the whole, right? So I want that centered. And let's run this through. Sounds like cracking bones. There we are. All right. Okay. So we'll put this aside. And we can create our card front. So I've got my card base here is 8.5 by 5.5, and we have it scored at 4 1/4. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to layer my white layer onto here. So I'll grab my glue. I just score score this because it's bouncing. There. All right, so go ahead and put some glue on here. And we're just going to center that right there. Perfect. And then I'm going to place this one right on top. So that I just have a very little, I used the wrong one. Okay, you know what? I have to cut that out again. I want the little one. You know what? I'm just going to pop this right on there. Because I grabbed a 4x5 1/4 piece instead of the 3 7/8 piece. So that's okay. So I'm going to put that on here. And then this is going to go on the front like this. So let's see. We want to stamp our flowers. So I'm going to take my piece and I'm going to put my little cup here. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp my sentiment. I'm going to use this to say thank you. So I'm just going to take my Orchid Oasis ink and stamp my thank you. Just going to test it on a piece of paper here. Perfect. Boy, I love this color. So pretty. So I'm just going to put my thank you right in the corner here. And then that way I'll know where to place my cup. So I'm going to take a pencil and I'm just going to figure out where my cup is going to go. So I want that somewhat centered from side to side. And I'm just going to draw a little line here. All right, so let's get my garden green here. And I'm just going to stamp my leaves here. And then I'm going to take my Orchid Oasis again. And I'm going to do these little flowers. And they're going to go just right here. This is so cute. Oh, all right, so let's close these up. And now I do need to cut out the cup, the decorative cup. So I'm going to just take a piece of the Orchid Oasis and we're going to put a piece of the double-sided adhesive sheet on there. I'm just going to peel that off and hope for the best. There we go. So you can see it's very sticky. Perfect. Okay, so let's cut out a little piece for the cut. And I'll just, this is handy, so I'll just take this one. And I'm going to cut out my little cup. And see that? I almost cut it backwards. You don't want to cut it on the adhesive side. You want to cut it on the cardstock side. Otherwise, your design will be backwards. I've done that more than once. Okay, perfect. Okay. All right, so let's pop the adhesive off of here. We want to place this right onto this cup. Beautiful. Look how cute that is. All right. So that's going to go on here like this. And then the last thing that we have to do is our lemon wedges. So let's pop this up on dimensionals, and then we'll go ahead and do the lemon wedges. Oh, this is so cute. There. So now I just need a piece of scrap basic white to do some lemon wedges on. So here's my lemon wedge, and here is my crushed curry. So I think we'll do 2. I didn't ink that one up very well. 1, 2, okay. Okay, and I'm just going to grab my dies and cut out the lemon wedges. Okay. Alrighty. So I think on these, I don't know if I'll need to use a Post-it note or not. I might be okay. Let's try that. It shifted. I think I'm going to use a Post-it note. Hopefully that won't shift too much. So if you're in Ontario today, you'll notice how cold it is. It's -20 where I am, Celsius, which it's chilly. Not sure. Fortunately, it's not very, it's somewhat windy, but not like it was yesterday. But I'm glad that I don't have to be out with the wind chill, because I'm pretty sure it's probably pushing -30 with the wind chill. Okay, so there we are with that. I'll pop that back where it goes. All right, so here's our little card front. That is so cute. I'm just going to glue this to the front. And I've got that centered. And I'm going to put one of the lemons just with glue, and I'm going to pop the other one up on a little piece of dimensional. There. Oh, that's so cute. Okay, so let's grab our in color adhesive dots. So once again, they're called the 2022 to 2024 in color matte decorative dots. And let's see. I think I will take some of the Orchid Oasis. So I'll pop a big one here. And they're in 3 shades. So you've got the light, the medium, and the dark. I'll just put a medium one there. And a dark one there. So cute. And for the inside, I'm going to take a piece of basic white that is 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm going to take the Orchid Oasis and just pop one of those cups right in the corner. Like that. And I'm not going to put a sentiment in there. I think I'm just going to leave it as a note card. So we'll go ahead and glue that down. And we'll just sit that right in the center there. And there we are. So there's that card done. And let's just grab our other cards here. Let's see, we have these ones. Okay, so here's the one cased from the catalog. I did make this one the other day. At the beginning of the video, I showed you how we made that one. And then we have the crossover card, which I just think is adorable. So I have the two blue ones and the red and green one. And of course you can use the matching envelope. And then I have the teacup cards, which are just adorable. So I hope you've enjoyed this series on the Tea Boutique. If you aren't already a subscriber, please subscribe. And if you're a subscriber and you're returning, don't forget to hit the like button and feel free to share this video with your friends. Thanks for joining me again. We'll see you soon.